each message that you sent was scanned by an AI algorithm. If there was a detection of naked images of children through WhatsApp, lands up on a desk of some bureaucrat that looks if this is child abuse.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the AWE Digital Wellness Weekly Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ritter. Co-host Christian just joined as well. Great timing. And I'm joined by a very special guest today, Bart De Witte. He's the founder of Hippo AI Foundation, co-founder of Isari. He's a UNESCO recognized innovator and one of the most important voices in global health AI, fighting for over 20 years for medical data to belong to people and not to tech companies. And today we're going to be taking a little bit of a different direction than what we normally talk about. And we're going to be focusing on a lot of the implications of data collection and what type of data is collected, what type of data is used by bigger companies, and what are the overall, ethics. What does this mean for the end user?
That company went bankrupt, Zio. And that's the moment I started to read the terms and conditions. And then there was a sentence written there in terms of a dissolution or acquisition or merger of the company, your personal data will be part of the assets being transferred. And that was part of the terms and conditions. And I said whoa, wait a minute. But this was all my sleep data. This was everything. Like in the morning, I gave reports to the app on what I was doing. But then suddenly I read that. And there was an article in the Financial Times back then that reported on data brokers. When a company goes bankrupt, then these assets are being monetized as much as possible, because in the case of a dissolution of a company, you want to get as much value out of the company as possible. And that Financial Times article wrote in that on average, over 52 data brokers are buying that data. So I knew my sleep data was then everywhere and I had no control anymore. So there was a big impact factor on my behavior on trying to look at different systems that don't turn me into the product, especially when it's about super sensitive data. What we normally don't see is the raw data. So if you looked at the early stages, Fitbit and everything else, you see your number of steps you do, you see the number of behavior patterns, but these are the things that are filtered out by you, by the algorithms that give you the access to that information. But the raw data of these wearables tell you very different things. It could even tell you if you have sexual intercourse, if you are masturbating, whatever. You can find all these patterns out of that data. People are not aware when their Apple Watch is transferring the raw data to others. I don't say that they do that, but you can extract all that information out of raw data. So that what we see is a filter of that what gives value and gives purpose to that specific app, but that's not the whole story. There was a European initiative by the Commission to use algorithms that scan each WhatsApp message on images for child abuse. At least that's what they said it should do, in order to control pedophilism and whatever related to that. Nobody knows that, but it was approved that everybody who is not using the encrypted WhatsApp or encrypted messenger, it's a setting that you need to set, that each message that you sent was scanned by an AI algorithm. If there was a detection of naked images of children, that image would then be sent to government instances. That was reality. Was implemented until a few months ago where it was postponed. But the algorithm has between 50 and 70% false positives. That means that my pictures with me sitting in the bathtub with my children that we sent with foam to the grandparents through WhatsApp lands up on a desk of some bureaucrat that looks if this is child abuse because it was a false positive. And it gets even worse. If you go and dig into that who was opposing, there was a letter written by or signed by 300 scientists telling this will not reduce child abuse because they will find other ways. 2 hours later, there was no mobile reception anymore. So there was no internet, there was no phone call. You could not call the police, you could not call the ambulance or whatever. And 5 hours later, my son starts drawing up. And then he's like, I'm going to call no, I cannot call. But I had compressed large language model on my phone. It's this is interesting. I was using it. Is there a hospital close by? And they gave me the list of the hospitals. Then I wanted to drive away with the car, but there was a carport that was electric. And I said, like, did you got that training data? Like, was the manual of this electric port part of the training data that was used to train the model? And I gave him the brand and the type, and it gave me the whole instruction on how to open that door. So where everybody was disconnected, I felt empowered because I had decentralized AI. Then I go into the car, and there was no Apple CarPlay, so I could not go on Google Maps and then connect it, whatever. There was nothing. But I could ask, can you write me a text on how to drive there? Like, yes, there were like 20% hallucinated streets in there, but it was enough to find my way. Now, that showed me extremely the power of decentralized technology, because you didn't need a mainframe AI, big data center. You didn't need to be connected. The feeling that I had most was freedom. Be knowledgeable and always curious, learning. There is so much available out there that you can get to expert level knowledge through that, and understanding then before you start interacting with all these powerful tools. Try to understand before you start interacting and building a strong relationship and sharing data, whatever, because once you share data, it stays there and it knows that, and it's going to become a super asymmetrical information power game.
Yeah.
Because we humans are naturally built to forget. These systems are not built to forget. I see a bright future in healthcare if we can democratize knowledge and put the best knowledge in the right hand of each clinician. I do think that we can create abundance of medical knowledge and then help people and then solve disease over time. If we can build that society, I think we can create a very beautiful and bright society, because I believe the majority of the people is just good and wants to have this world to be beautiful and peaceful and purposeful.
Thanks again for the listeners. Thank you, Bart and Mark. Have a good day.